Putty Squad is the sequel that no one wanted, and this is coming from someone who played one of the predecessors way back on the SNES. Somehow finding itself on the PS4, Putty Squad has a long and actually kind of interesting development story, but all that time has not led to an upscale in quality. Let's be honest with each other. You can look at one still image of this game and make a list of things that are wrong. Actually playing it though is another beast entirely. Being basically a nostalgia-fueled 2D platformer, it's clear that Putty Squad wants to harken back to the days of old. With it, it's carried a ton of older ideals and concepts found in SNES age style of platformers. Maps are large, full of collectibles, and littered with enemies. Though they may be nowhere near as massive or confusing as the game it's inspired from, the levels here are sizable and sometimes maze-like. Honestly, I can see a lot of the previous entry in this title, just done more sloppily. Movement used to be fast and fluid, but even jumping feels awkward as you never carry momentum in your leap. What used to be a system of stretching and dangling to get to platforms is now slow and delayed moveset, often useless in most situations. One particular ability allows you to inflate like a balloon, and it's too easy to exploit, which is actually a stark contrast to the rest of the game. But all of this is hindered greatly by an input delay, meaning every action you do is a few milliseconds off from the actual button press. You play as an unnamed blue blob, tasked to collect every red blob in the 50 or so stages, and that's where the simplicity stops. Each zone has way too much going on. Power-ups and items are given seemingly every second, some of which I still don't know what they do. A variety of enemies, each with their own combat style and movement pattern, need to be dealt with before they can whittle down your incredibly fragile health bar. And to top it all off, there are environmental hazards that can kill you just by touching them. In fact, my biggest gripe with the whole game is how poorly telegraphed literally everything is. I died in so many cheap ways because I never knew what would be a one-hit kill and what wasn't. A wooden box will kill me instantly just by touching it, but a weight labeled 1,000,000 pounds will just only slightly damage me. And the enemies follow this pattern as well, as it's always unclear which are the more powerful and dangerous ones than the others. Some can be taken out just by jumping on their head, while others have a specific means of being dealt with. And then there's the power-ups and upgrades that I was gaining and losing seemingly every second. Some affect only certain enemies for some reason, and others just are kind of really vague. Nothing here feels consistent. And the game doesn't have a rulebook to follow, kinda. And of course, all these mildly infuriating things mix into a horrible concoction with the god-awful level design. Each zone is spastic and cluttered, and the controls don't really help maneuver it. And if this game looked good, I could have forgiven some things, but it looks dated and just plain ugly. Set dressing often mixes with actual platforms, making it unclear what you can and cannot jump on, which only led to more infuriating deaths. Backgrounds vary from being either straight up unfinished to the point of seeing the edges in the graphics, to being busy and distracting, either of which are usually compressed to the point of being pixelated. Though there is a sizable variety thanks to each world having its own theme, most are often generic and forgettable. And I'm pretty sure Mr. Sushi's Diner, with the stereotypical Japanese music, is just a little bit vaguely racist. Almost nothing here works or is actually good, and yet, I kinda had fun. I don't know what it was, but something in me either clicked or broke that allowed me to actually like some of my time with Putty Squad. It controls and looks terrible. So much is unclear and unfair, and there's way too much at any given moment to look at. But the madness ended up catching on. Putty Squad is a bad game that should be avoided at all costs. But there might be something here that might make you enjoy a fraction of your time. Not enough to save it, but something. It's still a mess, it's still terrible. Putty Squad gets a disappointing 4 out of 10.